a minute. Everything has gone wrong today. Everything has gone wrong today. So let me scoot over here so I can be in the middle of the frame. I'm sure my audio sounds like garbage because my interface is deciding not to boot up, and I don't know why. So that's A. On top of all just the stuff that's been going on in general, I'm sure the audio, which is coming out of my webcam, because my camera, something's going on with my camera. I don't know if there's something related, if there's a power drain or something going on. Maybe something's not plugged in all the way. I don't know. Things are going awry, and I've been horribly affected. Let me see if I can get something going on here. Give me a minute. I've been messing with this right up until, and in fact, because I'd already set it up late, and then I know that if I don't start within 8 minutes or 10 minutes or something, then Facebook goes ballistic. So I was kind of caught between a rock and a hard place. Let me see if I can get my other camera here queued up, or at least sharing into the screen. All right, hold on a minute. Let me get Acrobat. All right, I think I can do this. Again, super apologies for the craptaculous audio. Let me know how bad it is. I'm sure it's bad, but we're gonna do what we can do, because hey, I gotta do what I can do. All right, give me one more second here. Page display, we'll do the 2-page view. We'll get full screen mode. Now I can add this extra camera in, show it on the screen. See if I can do that. Nope. Let's kind of move. There we go. Can I? All right, hold on a minute. There's always something. No, I don't want to do you like that. No, I don't want you like that. Oh, you're killing me. You're killing me, Schmales. How do I can't drag these and reorder them, can I? Or can I do it this way? There we go. Now, if only I could get this down and away. Ugh, no. All right, I guess we're going to have to do... it's just going to be that kind of day, I suppose. All right. Dungeon Crawl Classics. Introduced, I guess, a thing. Maybe I'll just remove myself from the screen. I don't need to be on here. Am I back? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Hold on a second. I may need to. Let me see something else here. Hold on. No audio. No audio. Ooh, where's my thing I'm looking for? It's good. Now I'm back. Okay. Good, good, good. All right. All right. So let me just reset because I was talking and nobody was hearing me. Let me reset. All right. Where was I? Full screen mode. All right. This is just par for the course for today. Okay. Yes. Having changed no settings, things stop working. Change settings, things start working. Yes. The wonder of I don't want to. Yeah, Windows has actually been pretty kind to me lately, so I don't want to jam them up too much. And I've had problems with Mac OS as well. I don't know the wonders of computers and whatnot. Okay, all right. So we were here, went through the intro, classic adventure, traps, baddies, NPCs that you can feel free to kill. You're gonna take 10 to 15 level 0 folks in there. The expectation is based on their playtesting that about half of those should survive. And then you're trying to figure out the source of a rash of abductions from your village, beastmen in a hilltop fort. And then, unbeknownst to anybody until it's discovered, they are trying to sacrifice. There's a cult down in the keep somewhere trying to sacrifice folks to bring back a elder chaos god, and you're here to hopefully try and stop them. Now, onto the background. Ages past, a numeral chaos cult flourished on the edge of civilization. For each holy spire rising to extol the virtues of goodness and law, there was an infernal reflection offering mankind material power and wealth in exchange for cruel acts and bloody sacrifice. Humanity was a young and foolish race, and many a prince and peon sold his soul in exchange for power over his foemen. But as civilization endured, uniting tribes into clans and clans into kingdoms, slowly the light of law beat back the chaos. All right, so I've already lost time, so I'm not going to go through all of this. But I will read this next part. Not to be outdone, the powers of chaos and evil sought out champions of profound wickedness and cruelty, mortals possessed of the strength of will to lead the hordes of chaos against the armies of the enemy. These champions were the Chaos Lords. The brothers Molan and Phalan were two such champions. Vicious and cunning beyond measure and without a scrap of mercy in their war-hardened hearts, they led hordes of bestial humanoids to victory against the armies of good. With the spoils of their bloody campaigns, they raised a mighty keep and rained terror and violence down upon all in their domain. In the end, the brothers' success was their undoing. Disparate forces of men, dwarves, and elves rallied together in a crusade against the wicked Chaos Lords. For 39 days, the allies laid siege to the foul keep, and on the 40th day, the captain of the elves dealt Phalan a mortal blow. Realizing that his own end was near, Molan retreated into the ancient caves beneath the keep. First, the Chaos Lord entombed his brother in a hidden crypt, defended by no less than 4 curses. Then, as the armies of good laid waste to the keep, Molan gave up his mortal shell, commending his damned soul into the writhing limbs of the gods of chaos. Molan made only one request. When ages had passed and the armies of good fell into disarray once more, he asked to return and lay waste to his ancient foes. That time has come. All right, there we are. So I'm going to blow by some of this stuff. Just because limited time, and I think some of the stuff that we're kind of well aware of, and I want to try to focus on, I think, the more interesting stuff about this, which is even though I think people argue whether DCC is OSR or not, blah, 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 I don't really care. I think it's OSR, certainly in terms of the spirit. It's going for an old school spirit in the way its design elements that it talked about and kind of the things it's referencing and trying to recapture the spirit. We can go there. And then the kind of funnel aspects, I think, is interesting because it's that one of the things that sets DCC apart in terms of what it offers as a role-playing system. One is the sort of spell burn kind of tables, is you have all these tables for spells. When you're casting, it makes casting dangerous and weird, and all kinds of interesting things can happen. And I think the other thing that gets brought up a lot with DCC is the funnels. We're probably not going to really see any spells in this book, but we're going to at least see how they're structuring things with the knowledge in their brains that the way that the situation that they're planning for is, while you can run it with leveled characters, that this is for that funnel situation. So it'll be interesting to see how they structure things, knowing that you're going to have multiple PCs with basically cheap lives running around through here. So we get some rumors and superstitions, 10 of them. I'm not going to read them out. It doesn't look like they set up it doesn't look like they differentiate between ones that are true and ones that are false, or maybe ones that are partly true. We have some encounter tables, or an encounter table for some of the areas. The areas are lettered, and so are the types. It looks like it's not just the encounter table is not just monsters. So it's, you see 2 vine horrors, that's monsters, but then a collapsing slope, environmental trap. You see there's a portcullis trap. There's an ooze. There's a sinkhole. So a bunch of different things there. Let's see. I will read the italicized text, which I guess is what the players, the first thing you're going to tell them. Hey, Starless Sea loves this module. Awesome. So this is the player start text. You stand before the ruined keep, which squats atop a low, craggy hill, its walls of toppled stone and massive granite blocks hinting at forgotten battles and the clash of mighty armies. Now the ruins seem host only to creeping vines and the foul miasma that drifts down from the keep. The air is overrun with pestilence. Fat flies bite at you incessantly, and clouds of small black insects choke your every breath. The long-abandoned land is strangled with thorny vines that drape the sickly trees and hang from the ruined walls. There's an odor of rot and decay, as if the hill itself were decomposing from within. A sight gives you pause. A ragged banner, depicting a crimson skull on a black field, stands high atop the ruined walls. Whatever lurks within has terrorized you and your village for far too long. You turn to your companions and ready your meager weapons. The time for retribution has come. So there we get the kind of first sense of this ruined keep on top of a hill. It just seems decomposing from within. It's just all the sense of decay and just rot. But there's a banner flying, so you know somebody's there, although it's a ragged banner. And, it's time for retribution. Onto the ruined keep itself, we get a list of general features. And so I have read through this module before. It's not in the sense of my usual read-alongs where I'm totally fresh to it. I'm not totally fresh to this one, but it's been a long time since I've read it, and I don't pretend to have it particularly memorized. One of the things I liked from it then, and I like about it still, is the fact that they give you the perimeter of the keep, and there's some different interesting things around it. So it's not just go in the front door. I mean, if you watched or listened to the stream yesterday, the dungeon that we went over, then I thought one of my issues was they kind of just have this pyramid is basically set dressing for a doorway, and the expectation's not set up, and they don't give you any information as to what to do if your party decides to look around and not just go beeline right for the door. In this case, here we are going to get some general features and some sense of the things around it, so that it does give some interesting options to your players if they do decide not to just walk up to the front door, but look around and see some different things. So in terms of general features, we have the keep's walls rise 30 feet from their rammed earth embankments. The wall and all the fallen stones are covered in a patchwork of moss, sickly vines, and lichen. Rather than simple carved blocks, the keep seems to have been built of enormous standing stones and mighty dolmens. The blocks are fitted together crudely and leaving cracks between the stones for rotting vegetation and pools of water that act as host to the gnats and mosquitoes. Excuse me. All right, so there we get the overall, just kind of general features. Now we have another bit on approaching the ruins. The PCs are free to enter as they see fit. While the most obvious approach takes them up the causeway, which is Area A, this is also the most dangerous. Wily characters would be rewarded for their suspicion, though hesitation should never be mistaken for caution. Approaching from the west requires the characters to ascend the rubble. Picking their way through the fallen blocks is not difficult, but carries its own risks as noted below. Approaching the northeast brings the PCs directly to the sinkhole, which is Area G. And then finally, characters attempting to ascend walls face a difficult climb. Each character must succeed on a climb check or pitch from the wall, falling 20 feet for 2d6 damage before tumbling down the base of the rammed earth mount. So what we're given here, we get the general features, and then we get three different approaches. One, just go up the causeway. Two, go in from the west, picking their way, ascending through the rubble. And then three, the northeast will be the another way to go, which automatically gives you, as the players and the GM, as the GM, it gives you, an awareness of, I need to be prepared. They might go to these different things, and they're going to have it more descriptions laid in. And then, of course, it rewards the players for thinking a little bit outside the box. And I think that's often, particularly with a lot of these types of designs, is to look at it in that sense of you're in the fiction. Okay, here you are coming up to a keep. You're trying to sneak in, presumably knowing that you can't fight off a whole army of cultists. You're trying to sneak in and get to the source. You got to cut off the head of the serpent, so to speak. So how do you do that? Well, you probably don't want to just walk up to the front door. If there's any part of this thing that's being watched, it's the front door. So maybe avoid the front door. And this rewards you, though can be challenges and things, but it's acknowledging that, yeah, that's probably your thought process, and we're going to acknowledge that and build off of it and give you some different methods. And even if you don't choose one of the three ways that we're outlining, you can always just try to randomly climb the walls. And then we're giving you that, hey, if you just want to climb the walls, here's how you climb up the walls, which is great. And like I said yesterday, I wish that dungeon had similar extra thought been put into different approaches. So we got the Devil's Causeway, we have the Ruined Wall. The Ruined Wall, the keep's massive wall has collapsed here, spilling cyclopean stone blocks down the rocky slope. The blocks are precariously balanced atop one another like a Titan's game of dice. So if they carefully inspect the slope, they can avoid the dangerous bits. If they don't, then they can trigger a rock slide. And then if they do trigger the rock slide, then any PC that's on the slope is a target. And they give kind of an attack value for running the avalanche. If they come from the northwest, they'll see this area, which is marked as B1, the Tomb of the Fallen. Maybe I should go, let me see if where's the map? So here's the map. Very artistic. This kind of does toe the line between a map that's artistic, but gives up some usability, because it can be a little bit tough to see what's going on. So B1 is this area here where it's broken. Oh man, my throat's going. C is the causeway, going up that way. So basically the areas they outlined are the ones that come up more simply or more obvious ways to come in. And of course you can climb anywhere around here. I mean, I love the artistry around here, but it's you almost have to remember that no, there's not like a pit of demons surrounding the thing. It's just hill, right? Man, gotta get this thing out of my throat. Okay, so we got those three things. Whoops, back here. So the Tomb of the Fallen, we get, let's see, so I'll read the text here. You squeeze down through the narrow opening, dropping into the small cave below. The air is choked with chalky dust and the pervasive smell of rot. A single shaft of light cuts through the swirling dust to illuminate an enormous stone door set in a portal. The portal is circumscribed in runes. At the center of the door is a large pentagram inscribed within a circle. Both the runes and the pentagram are set with silver and seem to glimmer faintly in the dim light. And then if they're approaching from a different area, what's 1-1? Summoning pits. Oh, that's 1-2. Where's 1-1? Where's 1-1? 1-1 is here. So if they come in, if they drop down through the shortcut, and then otherwise it's from the stairways, it's that one. Am I going the right way? Nope, I'm going the wrong way. I think the one thing, it would be nice, I really sometimes wish they would just do the extra thing and give me the name of the area. Not 1-1, not just area 1-1, but oh hey, if you're coming at it through the stairs or something. I don't know, just make it easier. Wizards, their apprentices, fortune tellers, and astrologers may attempt to decipher the runes. A successful check reveals the following phrase: the burning purge which scours the earth, the hardened glamour, stilling life, the baleful storm, heedless to supplication, the raging tempest, devourer from within, banes 4 I place upon this gate, fire, ice, storm, and hate. Bum, bum, bum. And then if they fail, we could make up a misleading translation. So the storm portal is not locked, to be opened with a strength check. Forcing the door triggers the first ward. A blast of flame engulfs the door, targeting any within 10 feet. Those scrambling out of the hole take only half damage. Once the portal is cleared, the PCs see the following. As the last wisps of flame fade, you can make out a soft crackling sound rustling in the chamber beyond. An icy chill settles over the air, and your breath condenses into misty clouds. Through the portal, you can make out a low funerary bier. A body lies in repose atop the stone. The body was once a warrior of some sort, wears a suit of thick hide armor and clutches an enormous battle axe to its chest. The entire chamber sparkles with a soft elfin glow. Ah, those elfin glows. So this is the Tomb of the Warrior Phalan. The elfin glow emanates from a hardened sheet of ice that coats the entire chamber. It is preternaturally cold, and you have to make a save. Otherwise, you lose 15 feet of movement. And then once you move to 0, you can't take any. Once your movement goes down to 0, you can't take any more options or actions. And then the floor is covered in hardened ice. And you have to, again, there's a save, or you might slip to the ground. And then after 5 rounds, you start taking 1d4 points of cold damage per round. So, whoops, I keep doing that. So it's kind of an interesting, the ice obstacle is interesting. The fire one, it's your average kind of blast. This one's a bit more fun and interesting because you can move in there, but as you're moving, you're slowing down. You're also slipping. So, what is it? Let's see. What did it say? Every round, you're doing something. So if you walk in, slip, fall, walking in, then as you slip and fall, you're getting up. Right, you're losing potentially a lot of movement just in the slipping and falling, and you're then losing. You're slowing down until you finally stop, and then after that, you start after maybe another round, depending. If you have 30 or 40 feet, you're gonna 30 feet, you're going to start to slow down. You're going to be basically half speed, and then you'll be frozen pretty much. But it's not necessarily obvious. Phalan was an enormous man, nearly 7 feet tall and muscled like a bear. His hide armor is of excellent craftsmanship, sewn from the thick hides of basilisks and the fur of polar worms. Phalan's enormous axe is forged of meteoric iron and can only be wielded by a character with a strength score 16 or better. Terrible weapon inflicts 1d10 damage on a hit and inflicts critical hits on a threat range expanded by 1. Unfortunately, the corpse and its treasures are all frozen within the ice. A DC 20 strength check is required to break the axe free of the corpse. This is particularly grisly, snapping Phalan's icy fingers in the process. Freeing the corpse and its armor is even more difficult, requiring 2 more strength checks. Each attempt to free the axe or corpse from the ice takes 1 round. So everything you're trying to do is going to, again, those rounds making saves. Heroes escaping the tomb with either the axe or the armor are subject to the 2 last wards, the Curse of Storm and Hate. Judges are encouraged to create their own curse specific to their home campaign, following some sample curses to serve as inspiration. The next time the PCs are at sea, their ship is overtaken by a fearsome storm. Just as their ship is torn asunder, the heroes see an image of Phalan silhouetted in the heart of the clouds. To survive, the PCs must make it to a jungle island where ancient reptiles lie in wait. So it's almost like you're giving them a plot. It's really like another plot hook or something, right? You're at sea and I want to run Isle of Dread, so then Phalan shows up and tosses you in the Isle of Dread. And then, or another one is that the wielder of the axe is slowly overcome by his passions at the judge's choosing. At least once per adventure, the wielder must succeed on a will type save or succumb to a violent rage, mindlessly attacking his foes and savagely pursuing them to the death. That one's maybe not so much fun, but it's fine. And then their final example, the next time the PCs are traveling through the wilderness, they are overtaken by towering thunderclouds on an otherwise clear day. Just before the rain starts to fall, the PCs spy the silhouette of Phalan in the heart of the roiling black clouds. Then comes the lightning. Each PC that entered the tomb is attacked by a bolt of lightning. Lightning bolt's +1 and does 2d10 damage. Also not as much fun, but if you want or require for your group more straightforward things, I think by far my favorite is that you end up having to get onto your boat or something gets torn asunder. And it could be anything. I mean, it doesn't have to be on a boat, I suppose. But that's maybe the most fun. But there you go. You can make up your own curse. We have the gatehouse. The dark, moss-eaten gatehouse towers above you. Okay. There are 2 beastmen there. I'm trying to breeze through some of these that are to get into more of the meat of it. I will read the box text on the beastmen. The beastmen lurking within the keep are all villagers corrupted by the lure of the chaos gods. The transformation is both slow and tortuous,
inevitably driving the subject mad with pain. And while the end result is always horrific, each beastman is mutated in its own unique fashion. In general, insofar as such a term can be used, most beastmen resemble their namesake, a hunched feral cross between a man and a beast. Consult the following table to determine the specific mutation of any particular beastman, or use it as inspiration for your own unique monstrosities. So it's a nice, cool twist. They're not just they're sort of unique. They you could kind of work it in if you had named PCs that you wanted to have show up. You could maybe work it in with their passions or things like, if it's all about being overcome your senses or your logic or your goodness being overcome by this drive for your passions, a selfish drive, then you could kind of think about what kind of animals go along with those and then factor those in, or you can just use their D12 tables. While beastmen have the capacity to take orders, only the champions and shamans retain the reasoning that once distinguished them from the animal kingdom. In the place of true intelligence, they develop animal cunning, stalking their prey like a pack of wolves or a pride of lions. All right, so then we also have the courtyard there, and we have the forgotten cache, area D1. The cache can only be found by PCs explicitly searching the courtyard. The flagstone is actually a capstone concealing a small subterranean cyst. The small chamber was intended to conceal treasures in case the keep was abandoned to invaders. And then folks can try an intelligence check to translate the rune on the capstone. Properly identified, it reads, "Till death shall pass." Hoisting the capstone requires a lot of strength, or you could use a block and tackle. Inside is a hide-wrapped bundle, roughly 5 feet in length, that sits atop a pair of wooden rests. Inside the bundle is a stone idol depicting the chaos god Nimlerun, a long sword forged of milky steel sheathed in jewel-crusted scabbard, worth 75 gold, but I guess not magical. A fur-tufted longbow and leather quiver containing some arrows. Ages ruin the bow. On the roll of a natural 1 or 2, the bow snaps, inflicting some points of damage to the wielder. And weakness is immediately obvious to basically anybody who knows how to use bows. And then a leather pouch containing a granular green powder and a roll of 5 cloth bandages. When wine or water is added to the green powder, it forms a poultice, a healing poultice. And then anybody who's adept at healing will be able to identify the powder. And there's 10 applications worth. The hide itself is the fur of a rare spotted mountain leopard and can get you 50 gold if sold. We get the charnel ruins. And this is still all stuff that's in the... we haven't gone underground yet. This is just... other than the tombs underground. Other than that, this is all stuff that's basically on the surface. We get the charnel ruins with a horrific scene. There is some stuff in there. A golden censer, a blackened iron coffer. 3 cones of incense wrapped in sanctified unholy cloth stitched with golden signs of chaos. 3 scorched chainmail hauberks and 3 blackened maces and a flail. There's also a tar ooze hanging around. Area F is called the Well of Souls. Though resembling a normal well, the Well of Souls is far more sinister. For reasons unknown even to the Chaos Lords, the well opens up into an interdimensional nexus, permitting access to the raw stuff of proto-elemental chaos. Before the keep fell to the forces of law, the well was used to condition living sacrifices. Now the inhabitants of the keep use the well to transform captives into the savage, half-feral beastmen. So there you have an idea of where the beastmen are coming from and how that's done. Very little good can come from toying with the well, but heroes are nothing if not fools. That's true. Those daring to peer into the depths of the well see a yawning darkness. Depth perception and spatial reality have no relationship within the well. It seems to fall away from the PCs even as they draw closer, forcing any PC that peers into the depths to succeed on a will type save or pitch over the lip of the well. Adjacent heroes can attempt a save to catch their falling comrade, otherwise the unfortunate soul plummets down into darkness. The victim never strikes bottom, instead his mind, body, soul dissolve into nothingness, lost to the ceaseless winds of chaos. And you're probably going to lose some people to that. Hey, Gashrin. But that's okay, because you've got 10 PCs. In a game where you only have 3 or 4, it might seem... it might seem unfair because there's not a lot of context. It's just a well in the fort, and what do we know? And maybe you'd want to have more stuff going on. But in this case, you're at the beginning of the adventure. You got 10 guys. Someone's going to go look in the well and then at least have to make the save. And then you get to kind of learn a little lesson about being careful with such things. Sometimes wells would be good. This one is bad. A falling PC has one last chance to catch themselves. Another save to catch the chain, but the damage is already done. Characters entering the well are subsumed by chaos and emerge from the well forever changed. As the PCs descend, damned souls circle about them, and the links of the chain grow tacky, then soft to the touch, and finally drip away like rivulets from a molten candle. The very being of the PC is flayed with unpredictable results. For every round spent within the well, the PC must roll a d10 plus any luck modifier, which is another DCC thing, on the minor corruption table, which is in the core rulebook. Curiously, the well acts as both a boon and bane to wizards. Arcane spells cast within 50 feet of the well receive a plus 10 bonus. However, each spell cast automatically incurs a corruption. Attempts to invoke lawful patrons within the well sphere of influence always fail. And then we get to Area G, a single. The raw power emanating from the Temple of Chaos has undermined the ground, causing the earth to collapse. Approaching the edge is very risky. Any additional weight can cause the earth to give way. We have a box text on 500 feet of rope. Let me check my pack. So basically just addressing the fact that sometimes PCs, I mean, it's not a not smart thing, can carry a whole buttload of rope, and they might surprise you by how much rope they end up having. So how to deal with that. Let's see. Heroes coming within 50 feet of the lip of the sinkhole have the eerie premonition that the earth is hollow beneath them. If the PCs come within 5 feet, the earth gives way, and they have to make a save or plummet to their doom. PC can pull himself up with a strength check. Characters peering down into the writhing mist can only see 30 feet before their vision is entirely obscured by the billowing clouds of mist rising from below. While the goal of their quest lies exposed over 500 feet below, descending the sinkhole is almost physically impossible. Heroes can rappel down the side of the sinkhole, but after 45 feet, it opens into the ceiling of the yawning cave. Without several hundred feet of rope, the PCs will be forced to find another route to the caves below. And basically, that's what they're saying, right? So they've made this thing 500 feet down, but they acknowledge that there's going to be the odd party where someone's going to go 500 feet of rope. That's all I packed. And then, it could happen. No fun allowed, says poor Ratface. Yep. The death of Ratface Slipshot right there. Ooh, that's a battle axe from a Minotaur right into the chest. Yeah, that's tough. And then we get to Area H, which was the Tower of the Beast. Hot stench of rot rolls from the tower, raising bile in the back of your throat. The floor of the wide tower is covered in rotting hides of cattle, sheep, and men. A narrow staircase spirals around the tower wall. Dark forms hang from chains spiked through the wall. Surely these are your fellow countrymen. A pack of snarling beastmen slowly emerges from the shadows, bloody spears clutched in their gnarled hands. So the beastmen are here, and they're going to try to lure the PCs inside one at a time. And they have a champion, a 7-foot monstrosity with the head of a feral bull that crouches atop the spiral staircase directly above the door, attacking the PCs with surprise from above. So their plan, the beastman's plan, is to get these PCs to come through the door, and then the champion up above takes a nice whack, which is a nasty, nasty method. Again, will probably nail somebody, I'm thinking. But it also is one of those, it's a teachable moment, right? You don't necessarily want to be the first person to rush into a room. And certainly if the enemy seems to be giving you the doorway, maybe think why before taking it. I know in the one near TPK that I played with some folks who were very new to the OSR, they definitely had that moment where we ran into a situation where they all died except for me, because I was the only one not running gung-ho into the danger. And it taught them that maybe running gung-ho into the danger isn't such a great idea. The nice thing is, in this case, is if you've got 3 PCs and maybe you've lost a couple by this point, if you spend another one figuring out, okay, I'm just going to run in there because, these are just some beastmen, and then my guy gets decapitated as he runs into the door, well, the next time there's a doorway and some enemy seems to be just saying, come on, maybe I won't follow. So a teachable moment. So we get some stats for the Beastman champion and the Beastmen. The tower on the floor and the steps spiraling up the wall are covered in gore-covered furs. Searching the chamber scatters waves of fleas and lice. Ew. There's a 1 in 6 chance that the searcher encounters a rot grub hidden in the rotting hides. On a successful attack, the grub burrows into the PC's flesh, working its way towards the heart in 1d4 plus 2 rounds. Digging out the grub requires an agility check, causing a hit point of damage per attempt. Barbers, surgeons, other PCs with medical background can get a bonus to that. And then if they don't get there in time, they're dead from the grub. But you can find some coins and a short sword and a cloak. And in the hem of a cloak is a treasure map. And there you go. Now we get to the Starless Sea. And here's also a spot because there are some captives in here that you can use the captives to refill the party's quota of PCs that they need. So if your party has gone through a bunch of PCs, they need more. Here's that spot is another one where they can refill their numbers. Otherwise, they are too weak. So basically, they're only used if you're down some PCs. I'm just going to go back and look at the map. Where was the Beastmen? That was area H was here. And then this goes down to area 1-1. And there's the Starless Sea, I think. Did we get to 1-1? Anyhow, did we go through all the other parts of the area? Okay, here they are. Never mind. So the Starless Sea area. General feature, unless otherwise noted, the dungeon is dark and the air is cool and wet. Doors are open but swollen with moisture and must be forced open. Otherwise, you can batter down the door, takes some rounds, and alerts anyone or anything lurking beyond. Judges should note that there is little native light in the underworld. PCs can use torches found in the Tower of the Beast. The glowing skulls. Oh, that's interesting. So there's some glowing skulls in another area here, which you can use. That's clever. Grab the skulls and use them. Maybe have the skulls talk. I forget what cartoon. There was some cartoon or something where they had the skull talking. I know in the Last Unicorn, there was a bit where there was the skull above the fireplace in the guy's castle, and it was kind of a chatterbox. But it gave up. It wasn't that canny, so it was they were able to trick it to give up some information. Area 1-1 is the Trail of Gold. 3 gold pieces forgotten on a greystone step. The beastmen failed to fully close the vault's secret door. So you can get to 1A, the empty vault. There is a hidden compartment in there. Got some silver rings, a silk tabard stitched with the sigil of chaos, and a steel vial with 2 doses of black lotus oil. The oil gives you, it looks like D10 temporary hit points for an hour. But after the hour, not only do you lose the hit points, but you also have to make a save or you take 1 to 4 points of damage. We get to the Dread Hall. And they have to make a luck check, or they feel a compulsion to inspect the base of the pool. And then if they do that, then they pick up and carry off a skull once discovered. I guess those are the glowing skulls they mentioned earlier. So we have some mosaics with some 3 distinct scenes, a hooded form standing atop a towering stone, 2 armored figures holding a single flail. There's hundreds of beast-like warriors. That's the brothers Milan and Falan. And then a low island set in the center of a black lake. Golden pyramid is atop the island. This hints at the nature of the Chaos Lord and the fate of the kidnapped villagers. So all the things give clues, which is nice. And I like the fact that here they give you the description, which you can read out, and then in italics, give you as the GM kind of what this stuff means. So that you can play into that if you want to give more. Okay, this is about... So the first one is it offers a clue to the means of crossing the sea. If I want to be more detailed, I can, and I understand that's what that scene's telling me. Oh, the second one is about kind of the history about the 2 brothers, so I can feed more in there if I want to. And then the third one, if I want to tell more about Chaos Lord, I can add it in there. So the one thing that'd be nice, I think, this is not a new, I forget when this was published. I didn't look it up. but I really like in some of the more modern ones how there's a little bit more call outs using things like bolding or lists or things that and I miss that because like as I'm kind of reading through these and I'm looking for what's here, I kind of have to sift through the text as opposed to having using bolds or italicus or underlines or some lists to quickly tell me, oh, here's all the treasure that's in there, and I can just beeline it. I got to kind of read through, which, and it's just the way it was, but I do appreciate some of the advancements in the layout and kind of typography that have happened since. It's not like it's unusable or anything, but it's something that I think if I had one of these, I'd like to print it out and go through with a highlighter pen. Maybe I would recommend that if you had this and you had the PDF, or just do it in the PDF form, but just go through and highlight these kinds of things. So when you get these areas and you just want to quickly find out what's in the pool, parts about the pool, put some highlights in here so that you can easily get through it. About the skulls can be lifted from the murky water and glow brightly the closer they are brought to Area 1-5, which is the Temple of Chaos. Though the skulls and their infernal spirits are not lawful aligned by any means, their hatred can aid the characters in the battle against the Chaos Lord, which we will see once we get to 1-5. If the PCs are brazen enough to enter the pool and dig through the mounds of skulls, they discover a simple bronze ring set in the floor. Rotating the ring 90 degrees causes the floor of the pool to fall away, taking the brackish water, the skulls, and the unfortunate soul that released the valve along with it. The PC is sucked down a narrow tube slick with algae into Area 1-3. Characters sucked down the tube must succeed on a save or take some damage as they crash into Area 1-3. If they descend by normal means, they can just climb down without risk. And Area 1-3 is the hidden pool. And so there's, if you get this, there is a ring that's a band of fire. You can cast Magic Missile 3 times a day, or attempt to. You can cast Fire Resistance twice a day, and you can cast Scorching Ray once a day. And if it's a wizard that wears it, you get a +1 bonus to all spell checks. But a nat 1 is still a nat 1. So cool. So there's a little bit of a negative consequence if you go down there and you turn that thing, but if you do that, you get a bonus. So you get a little potential negative. I mean, not that much, 1d4, but again, you're level 0 presumably. So if you're level 0, that might be enough to do it. Heck, I've had level 1 characters with 1 or 2 hit points, so it's still deadly-ish. But sacrificing some of those level 0 people to get a really cool ring like that might be worth it. Hey, Old Team Patrol. Now we're at the Starless Sea. The wide stone steps run down to the dark sand beach of a vast underground sea. Far out across the water, you can make out a golden glow through the gloom. An enormous menhir stands at the water's edge, dark waves lapping at its intricately carved faces. Past the towering standing stone, a dragon-proud longship emerges from the darkness, its hull scrawled with forbidding sigils and runes that glow a sickly green in the dim light. The ship draws to a stop some 50 feet offshore. The beat of distant drums and far-off wails of terror mixes with the quiet lapping of the waves. Well, there you go. A quick inspection confirms the beach is churned by hundreds of bestial feet, talons, and hooves. Characters pausing to search carefully all discover a single trail of human footprints, tracks left by their fellow villagers chained together, and D6 silver coins. The Starless Sea presents 2 puzzles to the characters, one apparent and one hidden. The first, how best to board the enchanted ship. The second, how to avoid the wrath of the Chaos Leviathan lurking beneath the waves of the wine dark sea. The menhir is carved with mesmerizing spirals that are almost impossible to trace. Characters that attempt to trace or decipher the carvings are struck by the overwhelming urge to sacrifice their fellows to the Leviathan lurking beneath the waves. The PCs must succeed on a save or attack their nearest fellows with the intent of offering his victim still beating heart to the Leviathan. If the gayest PC can attempt to shrug off the compulsion once per round. Having made a successful save, the PC cannot be compelled by the menhir again. So, right, something looks dangerous and nasty and otherworldly. The lesson is maybe don't look at it. Don't look at it too closely. It's very kind of Cthulhian, I guess. It's or Lovecraftian in that sense of things that are just not meant for your mind. So maybe don't do that. A narrow series of steps winds up the surface of the menhir. Those climbing to the peak of the standing stone discover that the top of the stone has been fashioned into a platform. A shallow bowl has been cut into the center of the platform. The bowl is partially filled with hardened wax, and the stub of a red candle sits atop the mound of wax. So interesting details, but are there any meaning to the details? For the dragon ship, boarding the enchanted ship can be as simple as the PC swimming out the sea and clambering aboard it. This inevitably draws the wrath of the Leviathan. The tentacle slithers after the first swimmer that climbs aboard. Relighting the candle or lighting a new candle atop the menhir draws the enchanted ship to shore, allowing the characters to board in safety. Once all the PCs have boarded, the ship sets course for the island temple at the heart of the sea. However, halfway through the journey, the PCs must deal with the Leviathan. The ship can also be drawn to shore by lighting the sensor found in Area E. That was in something we found earlier on. So I guess if they have the sensor with them, they picked up the sensor, I guess, and brought it with them. I don't imagine they lit it in Area E, but if they brought it with them and then light it, that could also do it. And I like that. It's a nice touch. You have this thing, the sensor, you think, oh, I'm just going to do it, but then maybe you think, ooh, I'll bring it with me. And if you do, then this might be a spot to light it. But you had to have kind of you had to at least examine the menhir, as distasteful as that may seem, before you'll kind of get those elements. The dragon ship is equipped with oars, and failing magic can be rowed to the island. Now we get to the Leviathan. Upon discovering the underground sea, the original Chaos Lord struck a pact with the fell beast, and their contract holds to this day. Crossing the underground sea requires successfully dealing with the Leviathan lurking in the watery depths. As soon as the enchanted dragon ship crosses halfway to the island, the Leviathan's tentacles emerge from the black waters. Unless the PCs succeed in placating the Leviathan within 5 rounds, 2 great tentacles wrap about the stern, arresting the ship's progress across the sea. The following round, the Leviathan attacks the fools that would dare cross its domain without offering the required tribute. Pressed for time, the PCs are certain to come up with innovative and wild solutions to their dilemma. However, the PCs attempt to treat with the Leviathan, judges encouraged to entertain clever solutions and punish foolish ones. Following are some guidelines and indications help the judge adjudicate the encounter. So the first thing I like about this is they're not saying here is the solution. Nowhere in anything we've come up, unless I've missed it, has hinted as what you have to give the Leviathan to cross. What the game is depending upon here is you're gonna come up, these massive tentacles are gonna come out, and at least for 5 rounds, they're gonna be waving there menacingly but not doing anything. And then you hope your party's thinking, what can we do? How can we get through that? And it probably will be pretty clear, given the level of the characters, given the size of everything, that, well, just cutting it, all right, just launching arrows, probably not going to do it. So what can we do? And as the GM, you are encouraged to have fun with these. If there's a fun, interesting solution, do that. If it's something really cheesy and ridiculous, then punish it, which I like. So a couple of ideas that they are giving here as examples. Burning incense in the sensor dedicated to the forces of chaos that you found in Area E stills the great tentacles. Let's see. Sacrificing one or more creatures to the Leviathan, as depicted in Area 1-2. So we did see that part about it. A false sacrifice. You can attempt to distract the beast by chumming the waters with corpses or blood. That's nice. Or you can try battling the Leviathan. Probably your least good option. But it's nice that it's like you're saying, look, be open to anything they do, but here are some things that we set up. And again, I like the fact that you have these kind of goods that you've treasure bits that people might look at and say, well, it's just kind of random, but no, they kind of come together. Now, they haven't set up all the context for anything. I don't think there's any way to know that the incense is going to work on the Leviathan, but it rewards the players, A, for finding this stuff, B, for holding on to it, and then C, for using it. So maybe I would say, as the GM, what I would look for here in some of these examples is how the PCs are cobbling together the stuff they found in the dungeon. And then if they can make something interesting out of it that kind of fits the moment, then run with it. Whether it's burning incense or doing something else, how can they kind of use together the thing? But I like the fact that you're given reason for maybe holding on to some of the stuff that might otherwise seem like a waste of encumbrance. Maybe that's what I would say there. And then we get some stats for the Leviathan. Also says that if you can deal 66 hit points of damage to the Leviathan, it doesn't slay it, but it'll withdraw. Now we get to the Temple of Chaos. The island draws closer, revealing the source of the golden glow, a towering ziggurat with burning light radiating from within the silver-thin cracks between its massive stone blocks. A wide ramp circles the edifice, sloping to the top of the temple. Hordes of beastmen crowd the ramp, howling to the darkness, hammering on massive high drums, and pushing a terrified string of prisoners to the ziggurat's glowing peak. High atop the temple, you can make out a fearsome silhouette of an enormous armored figure wreathed in infernal smoke lit from below. Terrence, you are late, even later than me, and that's saying something at this stage of the game. So this is the Forge. There are 22 beastmen here. You can, let's see. So there were robes that you could find earlier on that you could try to disguise yourselves. You could also try to use the hides and furs from that tower that are so nasty, but you could try to pretend to be a beastman using there. If they haven't done that, this is a much more difficult task. The beastmen do not immediately notice the PC's arrival. The PC sneak and climb along beneath the ramp. There's a slim chance they could draw close to the peak without being discovered or before being discovered. And then there's some checks to make. Finally, if they opt to attack the beastmen from the onset, take the temple by storm, they will pay the price in blood. You can give the PCs a free surprise round, but there's still 22 beastmen. That's a lot. So hopefully they get up to top. So this area too, you're encouraged to have picked up stuff along the way, stuff that may not seem immediately useful, might not seem useful at all. I would not have thought, and as a GM, I might think maybe I want to suggest about the hides. I wouldn't have thought that you could use the hides to seem like beastmen. So that's a good call out. I certainly, if my players decided that, I'd been like, whoa, that's not what I would have thought. Using the robes is obviously a classic dress up as the cultist kind of maneuver. No Fun Allowed said they've ran it 5 times now, and it's an epic finale every time. Yep, it's definitely set up that way. So assuming they can get up to the top of the ziggurat, the peak of the temple is dominated by a vast smoking pit that glows with a hellish light. A mighty beastman hoists an effigy of a fearsome armored figure high into the swirling clouds as the prisoners are hurled screaming one after another into the pit. A trio of snarling beastmen upends woven baskets, pouring thousands of coins in after your fellow villagers, producing gouts of hissing smoke and flame. All about you is the thundering cacophony of drums and bestial howls as the bizarre ritual nears its climax. So presuming you can get that far, you're getting there right in the nick of time. So you can see it. If you look into the pit, there's this unholy magma that's consuming everything that's being thrown into it. If you managed to bring the skulls, you can hurl them at the Chaos Lord, and they'll shatter on impact, erupting in flame and causing some pretty good damage, 1d6 plus 1 damage. And then it's got a little explosive elements because you can take half damage anybody adjacent. And then if you to destroy the Chaos Lord, you basically have to give it 20 hit points of damage, and it'll dissolve back into the magma. If the PCs take up either the flail or the armor within 5 rounds, the magma surges back to life with unholy fury, forming a pillar of flaming brilliance. The magma lashes out at any PCs within 10 feet, but even the Chaos Lord's hatred cannot sustain the storm for long. Regardless of whether the PCs deal damage or not, the pillar collapses back into formlessness on the 3rd round, never to rise again. Where is the let's see, I was just gonna see where they talk about the effigy or the oh, I see. The animated spirit of the Chaos Lords emerges from the magma, and then once it comes out, it reveals the furry armored body of the Chaos Lord. So basically, it comes out with it when the creature, this reborn Chaos Lord, emerges from the magma. It basically will open up, and it just comes out with armor and the flail. And then if you defeat it, you could try to grab the stuff, but then it's going to get mad for another couple rounds and then go away. This true death of the Chaos Lord triggers the destruction of his temple and cavern. A low rumble rolls through the cavern, building to a deafening roar. Massive stone slabs peel away from the cavern ceiling and fall into the area. This is kind of this classic escape from the thing now that's, sort of Atlantis or whatever thing. Only the spirit of the thing is keeping the place intact, and now that it's gone, you got to run away. Favor from the gods. The characters' patrons look on with favor as the Chaos Lord is destroyed. Characters worshiping good or lawful deities, or those with supernatural patrons who would be opposed to the reign of chaos, receive a permanent +1 bonus to luck when the Chaos Lord is destroyed. And then a king's ransom of gold and silver is consumed in the Chaos Lord's right, but not all the wealth is lost. Ample coinage remains scattered about the top ziggurat. You can sweep up about 1d20 gold and 2d20 silver per action. But of course, doing that is you're going to be scrambling around. So it's that classic keep getting more treasure or escape. And then you have the remains of the arms and armor of the Chaos Lord itself. And we've got some stats. And then area 1-6, into the unknown. The towering wave propels you with terrifying speed towards the distant cavern wall. Ahead, through a sea of towering whitecaps and the debris of falling boulders, you spy the mouth of a narrow cave. The dragon-proud ship rides down the crest of the giant wave and shoots into the rocky maw, the howling surf crashing all around you. The ending of the adventure and the start of the next is entirely up to the judge. Area 1-6 can open into an above-ground river, seal deep in the base of the ravine, or plunge the PCs deeper beneath the surface of the earth. The former allows the PCs to return to their home village, lick their wounds, and consider the next quest. The latter plunges the PCs into another adventure before their first has scarcely ended. Whatever the judge's whim, XP and luck should be awarded prior to the beginning of the next adventure, for, be it by luck or skill, surviving PCs have surely earned their just rewards. Then we get some maps. And then we get some more about the summoning pits. With the publisher's note, this adventure module was the first release for DCC RPG and has proven very popular. They are excited that it has reached the milestone of the 5th printing. In honor of the 2nd printing, they asked the author Harley Stroh what he would have done differently if he had a chance to do it again. He answered that he wanted to expand on the vine horrors encountered early in the adventure. Here then is the new addition to the adventure. Area H can be encountered as the adventure progresses along the ramparts towards Area 1-2 in the original adventure. Enjoy. So basically, just get some extra stuff. I'm going to skip the extra stuff, but just know that you get this nice expansion. And this is the copy that I downloaded from the bundle of holding. So if you do get in on the DCC bundle of holding, you get this updated printing. And then we also get a retrospective, which looks like it's a bit of an interview, which is cool, with some references to earlier versions, including the nice maps here. And then we get a sketch of the cover, and then we get the back. So that was it. No fun allowed. Seems we've gotten good mileage out of this. I think it's a good starter funnel adventure, I would say. It's not terribly complicated. If we go back and look at the maps, you look at the maps for the individual areas. So this is the extended summoning pits. But even then, it's got some verticality here and there, but otherwise it's pretty linear. If you look here, in terms of the layout, it's extremely linear. But you have a couple of shortcuts you can take. Something I like is here from the surface, which I mentioned at the start, multiple ways in, going in different areas, kind of pluses and minuses for each way. And it does encourage players to really kind of poke around before committing, because only by poking around are you going to discover. You have to, before you figure out that there are, I don't know, let's see, however many ways in, 3-4 ways in, is you have to kind of circle the place. You're not going to get it just from front. So while you can go in up front, which is the most difficult one in terms of what's happening and maybe the least rewarding, you could just do that. If your party just wants to head straight in, they can, but it's going to reward you if you stop and say, all right, let's take a look around. All the areas, though, there's not a lot. This isn't a maze where you're going to get lost in there very much. It's very simple, but they've got enough of these almost chutes and ladders approaches where you can find a way up here and oops, get down there. And you get here, you get there, do some different things that it really kind of rewards you again for poking around and doing it without overwhelming you with now you're in a literal labyrinth with 800 different directions. So I think particularly for new players, new GMs, it's manageable. But because of these elements, it doesn't feel as linear as it is looking at the map, I guess is what I would say, right? So, even though, yes, if you're looking at it just like this, it's extremely linear, I feel like it's not going to play out being extremely linear because of these different elements of doing it. There is some stuff that could be, presumably, if not instant death, is close enough to instant death that it's going to be deadly. But at the same time, if you're running this as a funnel, you've got 3 or 4 guys each, so you have a chance to make some mistakes as a player and not get too punished for it. And then they've given you a couple areas where you could pick up some new people for the party if you have to. The story's interesting. It tells kind of a classic tale. It's not the most imaginative thing in terms of what it's saying. When you boil it down, okay, you're stopping cultists from bringing back somebody. Okay, great. But they've given you enough to give it kind of a character that feels a little bit unique. I like that they named the Chaos Lords. I like that they kind of gave them a personality and a certain look. It's not just super generic, so you kind of have something you can build off of and build more onto if you want. You do get some different environments. It's not just the dungeon because, yeah, even though you're underground, you're doing that, you get to the Starless Sea, which gives you a whole bunch of other elements that you could play more with if you wanted to. If you wanted to make it more of a challenge for the party to navigate to the center island, put in some currents, put in some weird winds, storms, things like that, you could easily add those in. But you just get to deal with some different things. I think the Beastmen, even though we really just have just a couple of enemy types, you have the Vine Horrors, you've got Beastmen, you have a couple, maybe one or two things that I'm missing. There's really not a whole lot in terms of different monsters. However, I think the fact that you can, if you want to, roll on that table to make all the Beastmen feel more unique, that could be a way of making it more interesting. But just the variety of ways that you're encountering them, and again, I think in various areas, you don't want to just be fighting them if you can, especially at the end. You don't want to. The worst solution to getting to the end, the ziggurat, climbing up the ziggurat, is fighting through 22 Beastmen. What you really want to do is see if you can sneak past the Beastmen, disguise yourself, camouflage, whatever you can do. And they've given you the bits and pieces. If I was going to say, if there's one thing that might, I don't know if many people go astray, but certainly there's a lesson to be learned, is to picking up a lot of the stuff you think is junk or you think might not be worth carrying it, but you want to carry it. Now, given you've got 10 or 15 guys with you, so you can have some of them pick up the sensor, pick up all these things and go around. If we were playing this with just 3 or 4 people and you're playing with encumbrance, it gets a little bit more difficult because carrying around a bunch of hides on the off chance you might need them, it's a harder proposition. By the time you realize you need the hides, I suppose you could make a case for we're going to go back and get them, but it's tough. So the only thing I might want to hint more strongly at is either taking the robes, so that you can definitely do that, or making a point of the hides being more beastman-like, or hinting maybe more that they could be used that way, because otherwise it's like you're carrying a bunch of this stuff on the hopes of using it, and then by the time you realize you need it, it's kind of hard to get to. Or you've put in a spot, by the time you realize you need it, it's not really feasible for the most part to go back and get it. Though maybe, you could. But yeah, this was fun. Again, I'd read through this once, but it was ages ago, so it was really about going through it again. The layout and everything is good. I think I kind of would like, maybe they'll do this in another printing, is just not even such change the layout too much, but just add some more call outs for things. It can be hard. You're going to kind of have to parse through the text if you're looking for something specific. You got to kind of read through it, and I would love maybe laying it out a little bit differently, just to kind of give some cause to things. Use some typography, to use bold, use some different things to kind of make them things pop. I always like if you have names to the areas, then give you the names. Oh, hey, if you're, don't say that whether you can find them in area H2. Say you can find them in the Prison of Rope, which is parenthetically H2. That way, I think sometimes the more descriptive names will stick in my brain better. Saying, oh, it's in the summoning chamber rather than it's in area H5, because then I just got to be trying to, or H3, because I got to just be scrambling to find it. Whereas maybe if I say, the summoning chamber in the summoning pits, then I'm like, okay, that's where it is. But I mean, that's a small matter. So I didn't even realize it, but it's the first adventure, and I think it has stood the test of time. I think you could easily tweak this a bit if you wanted to run it with non-DCC stuff. I mean, they have their own saves, which follow, I think, the third edition with reflex, will, whatever, but you could easily put those back into the regular saves, maybe a couple other things to tweak depending on if you want to or not, and run it. So that is Sailors on the Starless Sea. Sorry for the technical difficulties at the front of it. It's just been that kind of day, but I'm glad that I was able to get things kind of fixed and back on track before I'd gotten too deep into the module. If you want to give a thumbs up on your way out, that would be awesome. If you found yourself in here and you like this, but you're not subscribed, and you feel like subscribing, that would also be awesome. Otherwise, have a great day or night or whenever you end up watching. Listen to this, everybody, and game on. I'll talk to you later. Bye, everybody.